Yeah, sorry for the technical glitch, guys. So, hello everyone. Firstly, a very good afternoon. And today we are gonna present on Kafka Streams Ansible Automates backbone for building scalable event-driven systems. So, let me first introduce myself. So, I'm Ruchi Pakle. I'm currently working at Red Hat as a software engineer in the Ansible content team. And my friend Ruchika, who is a software engineer at JP Morgan. So, yep, let's start with the agenda. So, we're going to start with introduction, explain the problem statement, batch processing versus real-time processing of data, then understanding Kafka, the producer and consumer streams, how Kafka handles real-time processing in Instagram, and with that, event-driven Ansible. Let's understand Ansible after that, and we will create a playbook using Ansible, and then we will dive deep into a demo. So, yep. From here, Ruchika would take.
Okay, am I audible? Yeah. So let's just take a real example, which we all see in our day-to-day life. It's the social media app. Since we all are on Twitter, Instagram, so let's just experience how this real-time system of Instagram works. Because when we, as a user, interact with Instagram, maybe through likes, comments, share, reel scrolling, sharing button, all the events are happening in real time. So since if you have seen, if you open the Instagram page, if you like 4-5 pictures of similar hierarchy, like let's suppose dogs and cats. So after, within the refresh state of, within 2 or 3 minutes, if you refresh your explore page, you'll see so many pictures, more than like 7-8 in the in your explore page related to the same content. So how this our events are working in real time, and those are processed in real time and displayed. So if you have seen, Instagram is used by a lot of people. So it's like so many people are handling it at the same time. So lot of events are created. So many people are liking the same comment. So how it is handling that load? Plus it is processing that load in real time. So we'll see how that part is done. Yeah. So that is what the process is. So let's just understand how the processing system works in the ancient times. So if you know about processing, which is a batch processing, so in that case, if we don't consider a social media case for that instance, so in that case, it's like you have multiple events, you store it into a database, you process it, and after some time, after storing it in the database, you process it and creates the analytics. But since it's a real-time world, when we talk about social media, everything is on instant. So we cannot use batch processing in that case. So in that case, we need something which can react and implement, process, everything can be done in real time. All the recommendations, likes and everything. So how this part is done? In that, real-time processing comes into the picture. So data points, all the data comes together. It stores into your database simultaneously. The processing on those data points is done, and you can see all the events that are happening in real time. Like if you like a post, if a user is posting a picture, let's suppose I have pictured today's DEFCON post on my Instagram. So many people are liking it. Those events, I am getting the push notification. So all this processing is happening in real time. So that's why we need a real-time processing. So how we can handle this kind of event-driven system? So here comes the picture, how the Instagram is storing it. So there are multiple microservices handled, since that is the architecture level. Every part of the microservices handled differently with its own infrastructure, nodes and scaling, and all that part is done. So Instagram server, there's a user service, there's a user feed service, post service, media service. Everyone is storing their data at multiple different nodes, and same messaging service has been done. So how this messaging service has been done? Because when you are creating an event, at the same time that event is getting processed. So here comes how this has been done with the help of real-time system. So when we talk about real-time processing, Apache Kafka comes into the picture. It's a distributed streaming platform. known for its high throughput, fault tolerance, and ability to handle these massive events. Since so many people will be liking the same post, sharing it, that this is the very insane amount of data that has to process with some real instance which comes into the picture, where Kafka helps us to process this entire process. So when we talk about Kafka, we have three main characters. One is producer, second is the topic, and the consumer. So in our case, whatever the likes and all, everything is happening, these are the events. So there will be certain topics, like one topic would be related to recommendation, one topic would be related to likes and all. So these are the topics. Second is the consumer, who consumes that topics. Like they have to subscribe to the particular topics and they consume that particular data. Then topic is basically a channel of certain same amount of image streams. So if we understand, so here is the picture. There is an event broker. So this all communication between these three characters happens through a mediator called event broker. So if there is a producer at one end, that producer is generating the data through its event stream. That data is consumed by the consumer. So now consumer can say, I want to subscribe to event A and B, or I just want to subscribe to event just A, or maybe a permutation combination of whatever the feature I want to process in real time. So they can subscribe to those topic in real time and get those data, and these can be processed everything in real time. So as I've mentioned the Instagram Explore page, all that is happening through this. So how Kafka handles this real-time processing? So first, let's consider the events are getting generated with the help of producer. They are producing it. Second, they stores into each topic. In our case, let's suppose user likes. So it comes with everything like timestamp, date, picture, ID, everything. And then the consumer consume that topic, let's suppose in the feed, notification, analytics, and after that that entire processing has been done on that topic. Then we updates that in real time. Since if I am liking the post, that the person who has uploaded a picture is getting a push notification that this excess person has liked my picture, or I got 700 likes or this many shares and views. So all this happens in real time. So this is how Kafka is handling this. So this is how the processing has been done. So the other part, when you think about the server downtime, fault tolerance and all that, so how this can be automated so this automation, like let's suppose we want to dynamically increase the size of the servers. So how this can be done? We don't need to, like the network administrator don't have to go manually and config the services and go there and manually do everything. We can just automate it so that no downtime, no server down, nothing can be happen in real time, and this can be like the end user, which is the Instagram user, can see the fast processing data with no downtime and fault tolerance. So that is how Ansible comes in, which is event-driven Ansible. It automates the entire processing. And if you talk about how the Ansible do, so how Ansible is, like there are two ways. There is the Ansible, the one where you write the playbooks, where you just give them the task, they automate that process. Another one is rule-based, which is a rule-based system, which is where we create a rule book, so that if this event happens, this part you have to do. So the next part will be carried by Ruchi.
Yeah, thanks, Ruchika. You can get this. Yeah. So we understood what's event-driven Ansible, right? So it is basically a framework that enables like automated systems and the configuration management resources that we have at large scale to automate it via events, right? So Ansible is basically just an automation tool. It's an open source automation tool that was launched in early 2013. It is a simple agentless platform, easy to manage. It provides idempotency dependency to the resources configured. And the code is 100% Python based. And for the connection, Ansible uses SSH, and like we don't need to learn any programming language because it just uses YAML, to configure the playbooks. So using Ansible, you can deploy resources, configure your resources on very large scale devices, right? So for example, let's see at this diagram where an event source is there, right? We have a database layer or a message layer that we call it, and we have event-driven Ansible. So in event-driven Ansible, what we do, we write Ansible rule books. So now what are Ansible rule books? Ansible rule book is basically a YAML file in which we give certain conditions to execute that rules, right, such that it would trigger resources. Okay, so yeah, let's see how Ansible works in general before going ahead. Okay, so in Ansible, there are three components. One is an inventory file, right, where we mention our host nodes and mention our host devices, right? The variables, what connection do we want to do, like the type of SSH connection. It could be libSSH, it could be pylibSSH, it could be Paramico. So yeah, we give our host and that in our inventory file, which we call it as an INI file. Then we have an Ansible management node. So Ansible management node is basically a controller where all the nodes are managed, right? So from there we can connect to multiple hosts and we can configure the resources, right? So the Ansible management node, it is connected to different servers, right? It could be connected to different MySQL servers, and how we then we feed some data into the controller. So we basically create an execution environment where we give our collections. Like let's suppose that I'm a network engineer and I want to run a playbook to configure some SSH connection to a NXOS device, right? So NXOS is a switch. So now what happens is we write playbook. In the playbook, we would give some we will give the collection name, we would give some task for it to execute, and it would be executed in our controller, which is the management node. Okay, so yeah, let's go ahead. Let's see a sample playbook. So I have created the sample Ansible playbook in which we are just configuring like Kafka brokers. So my host is Kafka cluster here, and I'm giving sources as the collection eda.kafka, and my topic name is Kafka metrics. I've given some servers, and so this is this is a rule book as well. So I've given some rules for it to execute. So the rule is to add broker when the load is greater than 80%, right? So when the load of the database is greater than 80% or the throughput is greater than 80%, it would execute this condition that, okay, event.load is greater than 80. So perform this action and run the playbook named add Kafka broker.yaml. And then using CLI or using the Ansible automation platform that we have, so you can just execute the command called as Ansible playbook run playbook and the name of the YAML file. In this case, our name of the YAML file is add Kafka broker.yaml. So if we want to see it in verbosity, we just give -vvv. So yeah. Let's move ahead with how we integrate Ansible with Kafka to seamlessly scale our devices, right? So how does Ansible help here? So let's say that instead of manually configuring all the Kafka brokers, Ansible just automates the entire setup, right? So you have your Kafka clusters, and like Ansible would you just have to provide your host in the INI, and you have to execute the rulebook, and Ansible will automate that. Then for fault tolerance and recovery, let's say that our node that we are executing goes down. Okay, so Ansible detects that and it can restart or replace it automatically. Okay, so it configures. So we have certain attributes where we see that, okay, if the crash time is there, or if the logs detect that there is some uptime or crash, it just restarts the node. Okay, then for dynamic scaling, like let's say we have some traffic, okay, in our host node, and example, a post is getting viral. Okay, we have lot of likes, comments, and all of that. So now in like you may have heard that Instagram is down at this point of time, right? Twitter is down at this point of time. So Ansible just provisions additional Kafka brokers to handle that load, right? So that it distributes that across the system, and it does the scaling, right? So it does the horizontal scaling or vertical scaling depending upon what you configure. Okay, then for the configuration management, let's say that there are some like policies that you want to configure, right? Or you want to change some cluster settings. Okay, so Ansible ensures uniform and error-free configurations across all these servers. Okay, so this is a like let's just compare how Ansible playbook is different from Ansible rulebook. So in Ansible playbook, what happens is like we write both are just YAML files, but in Ansible playbook we execute plays and tasks, right? For example, I want to configure a SSH server, so I just give the collection name, I give the some task to execute it, and it would execute it on my controller node, right? But in Ansible rulebook, how it is different is it is a YAML file as well, but here we give some rules, right? We give some tasks, we give some if and else, like conditional statements to perform a certain action, right? Such that an event is triggered, and it handles that in real time. So that's where event driven Ansible comes into the picture. So if you want to just configure your network resources, or if you are a network engineer or a system administrator, you would use Ansible playbook for most of your time. But if you are someone who wants to get their data in real time, have Kafka clusters set up in your environment, then Ansible rulebook would be the one for you to execute, right? So let's take an example of designing like a event-driven Kafka scaling for our social media platform like Instagram. Okay, so let's say we have a user. I'm the user. Okay, I'm performing some like, comment, action statements, and now like I have my Kafka producer, I have my Kafka consumer. Okay, so Kafka producer generates the event, right? And then it publishes a Kafka topic, right? It breaks down that into different topics. It creates some partitions, all of that stuff is happening, and then it is consumed by different services, right? And for example, in this case, our services would be what? Feed updates, notification services, analytics, right? If you want to see your analytics, what's happening, how much Instagram you're using, or stuff like that, right? So this topics gets created, and then it is sent to a monitoring service, right? Which we call it as a Kafka monitoring, right? So it does basically it does the load distribution. So let's say that the our application is performing a high load, let's say greater than 80%, right? So we perform a scale up service at this scenario. So if our load is like less than 30%, we perform a scale down service in that case. And let's say there is some failure, or my system is like just fails, right? So I just restart that broker in that case. And so like if my service is scale up, right? So I need to expand my cluster, right, to accommodate the traffic that is coming. So in that case, our new Kafka broker is added. And if let's say I'm scaling down, right, there is not load, so it just reduces the number of Kafka brokers created to like avoid the additional runtime and optimize it more. Okay, and if my broker is basically crashing, right, or it is performing like a very high operation, then in that case, or if certain operations are lagging, it just restart the broker. So it would create a copy of that broker such that the application won't be affected. It would restart that broker, and it would do a like fault recovery on the back end, right? So yep, let's just see a quick demo on this. Ritika? Yeah, let's see if it works. I'm not sure, but let's try. Is my screen visible? It is? Okay, yeah.
So as you said, like we have to configure this in a YAML file. So she has explained the architecture. Whenever the server, like the downtime is more than 80%, you have to scale it down, and similarly you have to scale it up depending on your server loads. So this is how the Ansible rulebook looks like. You have to give the name host service, which is there in the inventory.ini, and the file name path. So here we have created a traffic underscore JSON, which is generating the events based on the traffic which are coming to the server. So that is generating a traffic. Then we have set up rules like if the event load is greater than 80, then you have to scale up the system. Similarly, when the event load is lesser than 30, you have to scale it down. And if the node is not working, you have to restart it. So this is how the book looks like. This is the inventory.ini. It's not. Card. Good. Okay, so you have to just run the rule book. It will be running in the backend. It will be checking whether the load is greater than or lesser than, depending on the load what you are getting, and it depends on that it will run the other rule books. So if the load is greater than 80, it will scale it down, and similarly you have to write a YAML file, which is a rule book, which will scale it down. So if you see, it checks the current traffic. So the message is new service instance started. So here we have generated a JSON which have a multiple messages coming up with the load and the status of the server. Based on that, it is running it in the backend and checking whether they have to scale it up. Either they have to completely destroy the service and restart it. That's it.
Yeah, so this was like a very, small, high-level overview project that we created, right? To give like a very high-level overview of how a rule book is, how it works, and how event-driven Ansible works in general. So, any questions? Yeah, it is open source. Any questions, anybody? Okay, so if you don't have any questions, I would take that as a no. So this is a screen. You can follow us on our social media platforms. And if you have any doubts, feel free to connect with us. And thank you for being here, guys. It was great meeting you. And there is also, we have attached some resources in the QR. So if you scan the QR, you would get like the docs link for Ansible, getting started with Ansible rulebook, playbook, or anything, right? So you would just get the link over there. And all our projects are open source. It's present on GitHub. So if you want to just contribute to Ansible, or if you just want to contribute to event-driven Ansible or anything, right, under Ansible hood, you can just visit our GitHub. And we also take in community contributions. So feel free to contribute, and if you're interested, and connect with us on our social media platforms. Thank you, guys.